Hi, once again, and welcome to the Living Resilient podcast. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel. And also remember that every information here is to encourage you, to enlighten you, and to make you empowered. Today we have a guest. She is Onyinye Igbokwe. She's the head of Central Scotland Regional Engagement for CodeBase, and that's a community that promotes and supports tech innovation. She's also the founder of Knowvate, which is a community that helps ethnic minority entrepreneurs to scale up their business. Welcome Onyinye to the podcast. The very first question I'll ask you is what I see in your LinkedIn profile, which is the fixer. How did you come about that name?
It's very interesting because while I was working at Black Professional Scotland, that was my previous role before I moved to CodeBase. Um, I was working as a program manager at the time, and it was something that people started to call me because people came to me with their problems around employability and things that they were going through, and I always managed to find solutions to the problem. And they just thought, I think there was a dinner that we had at the Hilton, and they did a quiz about how well do you know BPS, and part of the quiz was who is popularly known as the fixer. And very interestingly, people got the answer. So I was like, you know what? I might as well embrace it. I do like to solve problems. I do like to identify problems and solve them. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to own it.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that also means you like to support people, and particularly I could see from your profile and what we've discussed earlier on is supporting ethnic minorities. Why is that? Is there a story behind that interest in supporting ethnic minorities?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. My background is engineering, so I've also always worked as a project engineer or in operations to automate systems or to just make things work in a certain way. When I moved here, I came here for a master's because I was looking to go back. I used to run an interior architecture company in Nigeria. I used to own one for 8 years. It was good. Then I came here, did a master's in construction project management. Okay. I was looking to go back, but I was going through personal stuff. So I decided to stay and bring the kids over. So when I stayed, the natural thing for me, because I did look for jobs, and during the time it was really difficult. I thought that if I moved here and just showed people my CV, I've gone to Stanford, I have all of these qualifications, that they were going to be falling over themselves to get to me. It didn't happen. So I said, okay, what's the next thing? I'm quite entrepreneurial from when I was very young. So I thought, okay, I'll start my own tech business. Okay. And I started that, and just trying to build a network in a new country and run your own business as well as then make ends meet. It seemed impossible. I had this high hopes. I had this business plan that had all this lofty aspirations, and I found that I was struggling. I couldn't commit 100% to the business because I needed to also make money to be able to sustain my family. But also I had all of these ideas of things that I wanted to build. I have built businesses before, so I know I'm capable of building one. And so when I saw that Black Professional Scotland was hiring, I remember I called Enoch because he and I had gotten friendly. One of our mutual friends introduced us, and we're both featured on Insider UK as top 10 black business owners making a difference. So we were quite friendly at the time, and I saw they were hiring. And I went in, I was like, listen, I called him, I said, I want to apply. I was like, oh, really? I said, yeah. It was a coordinator role, really, which I was overqualified for. But I was like, no, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do this. The thing for me at the time was, since they seem to have, they have this traction. He's lived there a long time ago. And some of the people on the leadership team as well have lived here a long time ago. And for a long time, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to piggyback on the network that they've built to then see how I can pivot my business to start working for me here. So if I don't have existing network, how do I piggyback on their network to then build on what I'm already building? And so I went in for that, went through the same process, did the interviewing and everything, got the role. It was meant to be like 3-4 months. I said, that's enough time to like get to know everyone. So I worked really hard, got in. After 4 months, Enoch said, listen, please, can you stay on for another 6 months? We do need you to continue to do this. So I stayed on for another 6 months to just build up some programs and some systems, made sure it's working, and started to hire. And we started to hire new people. I'll tell you this, during my time there, I think my business started to take the back burner because I started to enjoy community. It's two facets, the question you asked. I started to enjoy community and, helping people. The fixer came from my passion to help. I found that I really loved building community. I really loved supporting community. I really loved all of the things that we were doing at BPS, and it felt really natural for me to continue to do that. So I continued to stay on in the role, but I was still at the back of my mind. I'm thinking about the business that I was looking to build. It started to suffer. I wasn't giving 100% because I was now really, focusing on this. But what that did for me is that when companies, other organizations started to come to us to say, where can we find ethnic minority entrepreneurs? Where can we find Black founders? Enoch was saying at the time, I go to Enoch, he was like, listen, we support Black professionals. It's just enough work in employability that we're doing. I don't think we can carry that. And me personally, I would then on the side, I would probably say, okay, we can support that. And I just lent my personal time to it. And I continue to engage with the communities that were coming to us or companies that were coming to us. I was pulling from my personal network, looking for Black founders around me that I know that are doing something and just introducing them or taking them to those places where we're needed. And when I left Black professionals and I went into CodeBase, I think that job actually prepared me for that because I found that I actually loved community. But I'm also very passionate about entrepreneurship, especially tech entrepreneurship, because that's what I was looking to build, tech startup. And I've admired from afar during my time when I was building mine, and CodeBase had supported me during my time building mine. So when that role came up and I got that role, I was very ecstatic about it. But I knew that if I stepped away from BPS, the little work that I was doing supporting Black founders will go with me because, again, the primary value offering for BPS was to support Black professionals, not entrepreneurs. The support was different. And I don't think they were looking to pivot and start or expand their value offering to start doing that. So I felt like if I left, there was going to be this void. So I said to Enoch, how about we build a community for ethnic minority founders and continue to support them over there. And he came on board. The first program we ran for founders, I was still at BPS when I ran it because I knew I was leaving, but we ran it and had this fireside chat with Shaf Russell, who is University of, I think the chief entrepreneur for University of Strathclyde. And it was people turned up for it and it was received well. So I said, okay, there is an appetite for this. Subsequently, I ran a lot of focus groups. I ran one focus group with CodeBase in before I started to work there actually. And I asked the question, what does ethnic minority entrepreneurs need? And the majority of people said it's community. It's not having who to look up to or mentors or community or that place where you can go and vent, because what we're facing is different. You're trying to build your own network, you're trying to build a business network, you're trying to catch up to people who have lived here a long time ago. So they said community is really important to them, places where they can go and do networking as well. So I said, listen, this is a problem we're looking to solve. I guess we're going to continue to solve it. So afterwards, we ran another event. It was still very well received. We ran that in collaboration with Barclays Eagle Labs in Glasgow. And after that, the Scottish government released the ecosystem fund thing, that then said, oh, listen, you can apply for this amount of money to continue to support what you're doing. And I thought, okay, this is an opportunity. We had to scramble to actually register the business, because at this point, Enoch and I were still making the expenses from our pocket. I was paying for it. Wow. He was paying. We were both paying for the things that we're doing from our pocket, because we just wanted to help. And so when the funding then came, we're like, okay, fine, we're going to set up a business. I remember us scrambling to make sure we had all our I's dotted and all our T's crossed. And we entered for it. And for some reason, it was given to us. And I was like, okay, now this is added pressure, because now there is someone's money with me. I need to make sure that we impact, that we create the impact and supersede the impact that we've said we're going to do. And we've continued to do that till now. So this is the evolution, the journey of how we got there. It's just from my personal experiences and things that I've experienced during my work that I'm thinking, okay, there is something here. People need this. We need to have this community to continue to support each other.
Okay, now that's a very good one. Very good one. And you touched on some important things. I think the most important you've actually mentioned is the community, which is absolutely 100% true. For as a young, or even as an entrepreneur, not a young entrepreneur, you need that community. And I tell my students this, especially those that just come into the country, you get into some sort of community. It could be religious community, it could be, the tribal community, it could be tech community, but something that you start to engage with people and interact, and networking, very important. So that is a good point. But I think also mentoring and coaching also plays a part, because I know you mentioned many of them were all about the community, but there's a role, I would say, for having a good mentor or a coach, especially for the ethnic minorities that are new to a region or new to society, someone to kind of guide them.
Yeah, I do agree. I mentioned that networking and community were the things people said they needed the most, but there were other things there. There was the mentoring bit, or even representation. People seeing people who look like them, who have built successful businesses, to know that it's possible. Even though it's hard, it can be done. People talked about funding as well as part of it. I was thinking funding was going to be the number one thing, but it was community networking. People were saying, listen, we want to see role models. And so with the ecosystem fund that we've gotten from the Scottish government and Scottish Enterprise, what we've been doing is running a racial inclusion campaign. But the events that we've run one in Glasgow, we've run one in Edinburgh, Aberdeen, we have one on Wednesday in Stirling. But the purpose of that really is not just about the events or the food and things. Don't get me wrong, we love it. And just people coming together. But what we're using that to do is that we're recording all of these fireside chats that we're having with these ethnic minority founders who have built something worthwhile here. And we're collating an online resource center where ethnic minorities who are in our community can go and listen to any founder about any topic of their choice. So we've built it in a way that they can search for those things. We have a founder who is also an immigration consultant. He's going to talk about maybe what you need if you're looking to set up a business. What visas do you need? How do you need to make sure that you are doing the right thing and you've dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's? So we're just looking at people even talking about their personal experiences, how they've built, hoping that somebody will be encouraged if they see, oh, listen, I come from a similar background and they seem to have gone through similar journey as what I'm going through now, that means there is light at the end of the tunnel. So it gives people hope to say, okay, you know what, I'll keep pressing on because I can see that this person have done it. That means I can too. So what we're doing, we're collating that. We're recording some founders also in studio, just making sure we have enough stories, founder stories of ethnic minorities who have gone before them to say, listen, somebody is doing it. This is what you can do as well. And this is how they've arrived to where they arrived at.
Like a testimonial base, kind of a testimonial.
Yeah, they can talk about anything they wanted to talk about. They can talk about just their life, their journey, building a business, or they can talk about just maybe even people within the ecosystem that have supported them and what that looks like for them. So it depends on what they want to talk about. But we just want to capture all of those stories and put that in that resource center. And part of the things we're looking to do as well, the things that came up, I was just looking to build the resource center where people can just go watch these things. But during the racial inclusion campaign, I think it was in Edinburgh, one of the VP of R&D at CodeBase, Ollie, was delivering a keynote speech telling people like where they can find resources in the Edinburgh ecosystem, where to find what. What we discovered during that chat was that there were so many support. Ethnic minorities do not know of it. People don't have that information. They are busy trying to make ends meet or busy trying to pass their courses, which is primarily why they came here, that they don't have the time to know what is happening at every point. So I thought, how can we fix that? Because, he's saying, listen, if you want to know what's happening, subscribe to this newsletter. If you want to know, check this event, check that event. But people might not have the time to go through all of those ecosystem support to go and find what fits their bill. So I thought, you know what, let's also add like a dashboard for partners to come on board. All those ecosystem builders and ecosystem support that exist, they can actually have their own dashboard where they upload their events, they upload whatever like resources they want ethnic minorities to know about. So this is also like a one-stop place for them to come and say, these are all the information to make sure. And the people in the community can just log in and just look at everything that is happening in the ecosystem. If there are people you're particularly interested in, let's say you're a tech entrepreneur and you're interested in people who render like support for tech startups like CodeBase and Ego Labs and people like that, you can just decide, okay, I'm going to follow them so that whatever they put up, like that's the first thing I see when I come into my dashboard. It gives us, it puts everything in one place for them. They don't need to go through different websites. They can just come there and see everything, just saving them time, bringing everything. How do we demystify? How do we make it easier for ethnic minority entrepreneurs? Because I recognize that we face a lot more challenges,
difficulties. And that's why that's the purpose really for this podcast, is using stories, people coming, sharing their own stories, their own experience, the difficulties, challenges that they've gone through, and how they managed to navigate through that, so that someone else listening would say like, okay, this is really possible. This person have a similar challenge or face something similar, and getting that information, or even if it's just hope that it is possible for you to get what you want to get, for you to achieve what you want to achieve.
I agree. And I feel like I didn't touch on the mentorship bit. What we're trying to do is build a community of ethnic minority entrepreneurs. I say this all the time because it's not like, oh, look at what we've built, go and enjoy, or like trying to do all sorts of things. We're building a community of ethnic minority entrepreneurs. So it's a place where people can come and engage us in one. Do you get it? So when people come in there, they see all of us. And if they have any offerings, they tell us about it. If they wanted to create a program for us, they know where to find us. It's just like giving us an address. This is where we live. So if you're looking to find us, come find us here. And the other thing is, we are not looking to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
So we're not going to say, oh, we're going to start a mentorship program that is going to be like more. We might get there at some point, getting like ethnic minority entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs to mentor people coming up. But for now, there's a lot of resources that exist in the ecosystem. CodeBase has one of the best, it's not because I work there, one of the best mentorship program. And the thing is, if somebody is building a tech startup and they come to us at Knowvate, we have an example. We're going to film the guy and tell his story. He came to us and said, listen, this is what I'm building. And I said, okay, this is how to go about it. This is how to go about it. Got him into TechScaler. I said, go join TechScaler. That's us signposting to the right resources. And when he joined, he'd come back now and said, listen, my business, I now have paying customers. This is somebody, just like you're doing this. You don't know if you want to monetize. You don't know what that looks like. Now he has paying customers. Within a space of 6 months, his business has progressed at the speed that I wouldn't have ordinarily. He was very pleased with the mentors that CodeBase matched him with. It refined his product. Even him talking to him now about the product is so different from when we first spoke. When I first did the first mentoring with him, founder surgery with him. So that sort of thing, that means we're able to signpost to the right places. Barclays Eagle Labs have mentorship directory as well. That is not really particularly tailored to tech. So other businesses can can go there and benefit. And I can signpost. Yeah, we can say, oh, listen, Dave is the Barclays ecosystem manager in Edinburgh. Go talk to him. And I write an email and Dave picks that up. We are not looking to reinvent the wheel. It's just saying, this is a place where you can come. If you're an ethnic minority entrepreneur, you can come here and hopefully we have the answers. If we do not have the answers, we'll point you to the people who do. But that, listen, I'm here. And also, if people are looking to create something or support ethnic minority entrepreneurs, they know where to go. Rather than asking individuals like me, oh, do you know any Black founders to bring to this? You can go there and say, listen, we're building this. What do you think? How do you think we can shape it to reach more Black founders? What do you think your community will say about it? And we can ask the community, what do you think about this? What would you like to see? And then they're able to create a program that actually solves the problem.
About Knowvate. So Knowvate is your own baby. And I guess it's born out of this passion for wanting to help people, to fix problems. Is there any experience that you can tie to it? So in terms of, have you gone through some challenging times or something difficult that makes you, want to, help people and fix problems? Is there anything you can relate to your desire to want to help?
First of all, it's not my baby, it's our baby because it's a community.
Okay, I
where
like that.
we all come together and just
build.
that.
Okay, but it's your idea.
Yeah, but it's our baby.
Okay.
It's everyone's baby. We need to be able to come together and just, be able to exist and say, listen, and take up space and say we're here. As with regards experience, it's just me looking to. I started off very enthusiastic about building a tech startup here. I felt like, okay, I was an experienced business owner. I knew what to do. So I learned my lessons. Part of the lessons that I learned in trying to build that business, one, that building a tech startup is astronomically different from building a traditional business. I learned that. I also learned that network, your network, affects,
it's important.
It has direct impact on your network, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And we take that for granted. Like when you are in your home country, for me, Nigeria, and you have people you've gone to primary school with, people you've gone to secondary school with, people you've gone to uni with, who already know you. Mm-hmm. So if you went back to them and said, listen, I'm doing this, they can patronize you based on their knowledge of you
in the past,
or their image of you from the past. Yeah. You don't need to oversell it. Mm-hmm. But when you're in a new place, you're trying to build network, you're trying to build trust that takes years to happen. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you're now trying to build a successful business. Yeah. It's just like what BPS does. People who would ordinarily not get jobs we now go through like this internship program. It's just, instead of them going to knock on those doors themselves,
you mediate.
We knock down the doors and we're like, okay, come on, you can get through now. They feel, first of all, they feel more comfortable going through, because it's not everybody that have the confidence to go knock on those doors. But if the door is already open and someone is holding out hand and saying, listen, come go through, they are happy to go through. So how do we break that? It's just about breaking down those barriers, because I've gone through it and I'm thinking, okay, these are the reasons why my business failed. First of all, COVID played a huge
significant
role.
impact.
But not having network played another role. And at the same time, I will also say trying to support, not having like that buffer, like from family and friends that you would maybe have at home. Like if I was sat in Nigeria trying to build a business, I might not be very worried about where I was paying for food and paying for paying rent and things like that. These are things that I take for granted. But here I have to think about, how do I work to pay my rent, and how do I work to provide food for the kids and everything else? And on top of that too, I need to build this business. It's a lot.
It's the culture, the cultural differences. You come in from a place and you're having to really, really start from ground zero. I always say that, I think the ethnic minorities, or even anybody, a foreign national coming to start here, starts on ground zero, and they do face a lot of hurdles they have to, jump over. So what you're doing is absolutely brilliant. And I think there's so much room for expansion and scalability.
Yeah, interesting. Funny thing you mentioned cultural differences, because when it comes to maybe employability, those are one of the biggest hurdles that we have to face here to actually get into roles, or even when you get in to stay. It's a struggle. The culture is so different. Like the it's very polarized that you have to temper yourself and also work on knowing that people are not against you.
I like that.
Do you get it? It's just a constant struggle. If you haven't lived it, I can't explain it to you. It's a constant struggle that you come in thinking, am I too much? How are they feeling about this? Things that people take for granted, if they've grown up here and they know about the culture here, it's not a big deal for them.
Having that imposter syndrome, because I know I experience it, to be honest. I've been here for many years. I mean, I do teach, I lecture, but sometimes you have that kind of, imposter syndrome. You feel either you're too much, or, you're not saying it right, or, you're not sure of how to say it. You're always watching yourself. You're always sometimes second guessing yourself, which, on its own, it's challenging.
I agree. And here is the thing. That cultural difference, I tell people, that works against you or not against you, is a significant barrier for people getting into like proper roles here. I feel like it's a strength for when you want to build a business.
Yeah, it depends on how you work with it.
For an entrepreneur, I think that's a strength. This is my personal opinion. I feel like the national culture here is very risk-averse. Yeah? And our culture is like, we run towards the risk. And I feel like injecting that piece of running towards risk is what we need here for businesses to like go from that point A to B. Because a risk-averse culture actually sort of stifles innovation. Keeps you in line. Don't overdo it. Don't think too much of it. It keeps you confined. And the only way you build viable businesses and unicorns is to be able to like do the crazy stuff and embrace the risk. So I feel like that cultural difference that would have worked against us in employability and all of those things is a strength when you are an entrepreneur. So if we do know that, we can bring that doggedness and resilience that we have cultivated back home, because you have to do everything by yourself. Nobody's giving you funding or grants or things like that exist here, and all of this support. And because you don't have it, you have to build everything from scratch. So if you bring that mindset here and then build the hell out of it, and then somebody is now injecting support here, funding here, a little bit of that here and there, is just an added advantage for you to spring higher than the average person here. So instead of us looking at it as something that holds us back, I feel like we should embrace the cultural difference and play it as our strength.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think I agree with you here to an extent. And I think it also depends on mindset and orientation of the individual. Because like you said, you could use something that seems negative to work for you. But you need to have that open mindset to learn, the mindset to put yourself out there, mindset to engage in a community, to network in order to move ahead or to progress. So I think that's something, again, that the foreign nationals or ethnic minorities or the migrants, need to consider, especially students, I would say, because I think I engage more with students that come in. It's having that open mindset, and I mean, you move into a place, this is a culture and it's in society. You're not going to expect things to turn around and work for you. You need to know how to plug into that system.
Yeah, it's called integration.
Absolutely,
where
yes.
People think integration is like letting go of your own culture, but it's just about how do I integrate into this society where they know about me, but I also learn from them. And in as much as I like us running towards risk, I also appreciate the risk averseness of like the UK culture, because that's now, I think building a business now is going to be different from the business that I tried to build maybe 4 years ago. Because now there are things I'm quite cautious about. I'm no longer running headfirst into fire. What I wanted to also add to this, like in conclusion, as we round off, is we move here. And I've seen people who were bank managers and very high-ranking people in their roles move here and they become a shell of themselves. We stop to believe in who we are. I'll speak for Nigerians. We're known to be very proud people. We hold our head high. But you come here, especially if there are people who have moved here before you, they tell you, this is put your head down. Don't do more than yourself. Put your head down. People think that's integration. That's not. You are assimilating. Integration means you bring the flavor of your culture, but you also enhance your immediate environment. And then your immediate environment influences you, and it's an enhancement to the skills you already have. It shouldn't be you beating down yourself and losing everything that made you in the first place. So I see people lose themselves. So even if you're telling them these opportunities exist, you can start a business, they're doubtful of things. These are people who have built businesses before in Nigeria. They're coming in here doubting if they can do it again here. There's a level of mindset shift that needs to happen for ethnic minorities to say, listen, you are still the same person you were in your home country. It's just the culture that has changed here. So how do you integrate properly into the culture? Be interested in integrating. Be interested in getting to know people. Don't go and seclude yourself and say, listen, the system has beat me down. I'm going to stay down. Be interested in that. That's how, go to the networking events. Go and chat to people. Start to get to know people. Understand that culture and see, how can I integrate myself into this culture without losing myself? I'm going to still bring my flavor as a Nigerian. I always tell people, I'm a Nigerian. I tell you, do you get it? This is how we deal with things. This is how we deal with things. This is how you deal with things. I've seen it. But also be willing to learn from the environment where you are in, from the people around you, so that you don't think, I know everything. You don't. So integration means being able to look at your immediate environment, allowing it to influence you, but it's just going to be enhancing the skills and the culture you already have, and you key into it, and be willing, be open to assimilate, to integrate into that culture. Be willing, be open. I've seen people live here. I was part of the things my business failed, I'll say this again, is that, even when we try to build business here, we build business for a Nigerian audience while we live here. My kids are here. I'm not going to move back to Nigeria anytime soon. So why on earth when I was building a tech startup, I was building for a primary market, primary Nigerian market, while I live here. So it's just for us to have the mindset to start, or people, I've seen Black people just build businesses to cater to Black needs. We need to be able to build global business and say, oh, listen, I can bring my flavor to this and build this differently in a way that everybody is going to enjoy it and see who I am through this product that I've built. We need to be able to build for global audiences as well. For women as well, I've seen women just only build things that cater to women. Yeah. We need to be able to break out of that box and build for everybody. I've never seen a man trying to build something and thinking, I'm going to build this for just men. Men build stuff, most of it, like 90% of the time, build stuff for everybody. Then white men build stuff for everybody. Yeah. But I've seen women, whether Black or white, build stuff for just women. Or Black people build stuff for just Black people.
Themselves, for their community.
We need to think globally, like they're not, confined by anything. So we need to remove those confinements, those imaginary confinements that we've put on ourselves, especially when we move over, and start to see ourselves like how we saw ourselves before, but be willing to learn from your immediate environment, but don't let it beat you down, and be willing to integrate and keep an open global mindset when you're building businesses. When you're recording this, don't think, I'm going to record it for the Black audience in Scotland. No, record your stuff, because you're going to show this so everybody in the world, whoever is going to want to live resilient, will listen to it.
Thank you so much, Onyinye. I mean, it's very, very so informative what you have shared. And I'm just going to emphasize what you said about, in summary, having an open mind, being willing to learn, coming out through a different culture. They are not working against you, but being willing to learn, having an open mind, and also integrating. I think that's a very important word you used. Integrating into the society, but without necessarily losing your own self, but using the immediate environment to enhance your already existing skills. So thank you so much for sharing. And that's the end of another episode. Remember to like and subscribe if you did enjoy, or if you got any valuable information. And remember, if you do have a story you're willing to share, send me an email to livingresilient101@gmail.com. Thank you, and see you in the next episode. Bye.